All right, Ethan Skolnick here for the 5 Reasons Sports Network. You can hear me on 5 on the Floor, Miami Heat podcast. New episode out today about the ramifications of coronavirus on the NBA and also the Miami Heat and NBA fans. But today we're going to do a little bit of NFL. Check out our episode from yesterday. I had Louis Sung and also our guy Vishnu, who usually covers the Canes. I'm not trying to pronounce Vishnu's last name. We had both of them on last night to talk about. There's no way I'd get it. Okay, I'd rather do Kumpo, whatever. We had both of them on last night to talk about Burrow and whether the Dolphins should move up. Today we've got 2 more repeat 305 Live participants. We've got David Eversole, we've got Jakari Givens, and I'm, of course, Ethan Skolnick. And today we're going to debate 2 other things. This is kind of Dolphins old and young. We're going to start, before we get to the young, which is Tua, we're going to start with the old. David Eversole has a piece on the website today about Cameron Wake, who I guess was prematurely retired by Courtney Fallon, who used to work in South Florida. But he's not actually retiring, according to his agent. He was cut loose by the Titans, but he wants to keep playing. Obviously, he's built like a Greek god, so he can probably play as long as he wants. But he's deep into his 30s right now. And, David, you wrote today the Dolphins should look at bringing him back. Your thought process. This is a team that's rebuilding still, although I think they fast-tracked it a little bit with free agency. Why would you bring Cameron Wake back?
I think it's twofold. First of all, you have a connection to a great player of the past who may still have a little bit left in the tank. Obviously, he is on the downside of his career. But I think given his profile, he deserves to retire in Miami. We had the Dwyane Wade farewell tour. Obviously, Wake didn't bring us the championships that Wade brought us, but to bring him back in on a veteran's deal, I think a 10-year vet minimum would be just over $1 million. Bring him in. He could run about 20, 25 snaps per game, be a mentor to the younger players they brought in, anybody they draft, etc. And I think he could give you 5 or 6 sacks this year and go out on his own terms and retire as a Dolphin as he should.
And I want to clarify something because what you said is correct. It's a 10-year veteran minimum. People thought you wanted to sign him for 10 years. I saw that on Twitter. People can't read. So I just want to be clear. It's just the number is based on him having played for more than 10 years. It has nothing to do with that. Jakari, exactly. I see a lot of value in this, honestly, because when I look at this roster, they've cleaned out so many of the veterans. I think they cleaned out a lot of the negative influences that were around, like either guys who didn't want to be here or guys who didn't pan out, or they were. But Cameron Wake was never one of those guys. Like there was never an issue with Cameron Wake's leadership or the example that he set. I don't really see, unless he gets more money somewhere else, like I don't really see a reason not to do this. Like, do you even see any leaders on this roster? Because I don't.
I agree with you, David. You can bring him back because he can bring value to the locker room and mentor the other guys. The only thing would be a problem is he doesn't fit the scheme that the Dolphins run now. They're not going to be much of a sack team. They're more of a contained rush. They're going to generate pressure with their packages, more so with their linebackers, Jerome Baker, McMillan, stuff like that. So you kind of watch the Patriots defense. They never have a guy with high sack numbers. Kind of why people was upset with the Kyle Van Noy signing, because they're like, he doesn't generate pressure, he doesn't get sacks, but the defense is not made for those guys to get sacked.
But that's a good point. Yeah, they've never really. I mean, if you look at it, they really have never, like the Patriots. Like I'm thinking Chandler Jones, a few guys, but they have not traditionally had double-digit sack guys in their scheme.
So that's the only reason why. But Cam Wake would be a nice mentor to Ogba because I think they kind of have a lot of similarities in their game. They're pretty explosive off the edge. Also, he could be like a James Harrison, how James Harrison was later in his career. So you can bring him back. I wouldn't mind it, but at the same time, does he really fit the scheme? I think Flores is trying to create his own culture, and I think he wants it to start with him, not with other players.
What do you think, David? I mean, is there any credibility? I mean, I agree with a lot of what Jakari's saying from a football perspective. I understand what you're saying from a sentimentality perspective, but also just having a voice in that room. But is there any concern, I guess, with bringing a guy back who was accustomed to the Dolphins doing things one way when he was here? And like Jakari's saying, like Flores has done things a totally different way since he's been here. So it's not like Wade in that regard, right? Like because Dwyane came back but the Heat haven't really changed what they do. Like they've been the same since 1995. Like it's a Riley culture, it's a Spoelstra culture. That hasn't really changed. I mean, Wake's coming back to a program that's totally different.
I don't think he's going to upset the apple cart, if you will. He would just come in, do his job, bring some pressure, maybe on obvious passing situations, be somebody that could spell somebody. If the defense is on the field for 10, 12 plays in a drive, he could go out there and give you some run here and there situationally. As I wrote in the article, he was pretty good in limited snap counts after the Achilles injury in 2015. He came back with 2 strong seasons. And, yeah, he had a lot of decline in Tennessee, but that was just a one-year thing, and it wasn't really a fit for him as well. So I think he could bring you something more on the intangible side, but I do think he does have some on-the-field value as well. And I see it as a low risk, not really a high upside, but I don't think there's really much downside to the signing. And if you get him I think with the new CBA, the veterans minimum and a 10-year player is around $1.3 million. I don't really see the issue with spending that kind of money on a player such as Wake.
Yeah, and he might take that money here, whereas somebody might give him a little bit more. He might go somewhere else if he understands the culture. And again, I don't know what his relationship is with Chris Greer. I mean, there is still some carryover from the old Dolphins regime. It's just that Flores has put his own spin on it. We've lost Jakari here for a second. I will pause, or maybe not pause, as I sort of wait for an answer on that. But so let's go to you first on this, and hopefully Jakari will join us during the course of the show here. Tua. Now, we talked about Burrow yesterday. Louis and Vishnu had some interesting thoughts about how much you trade up. I asked the question, how much more would you give up to get Burrow as opposed to getting Tua? So I want to start here with you, and then hopefully we'll have Jakari back on to answer this question as well. We've seen him now do some videos. He can't do the full workouts because of coronavirus. He can't do the visits he was going to do, but we have seen the workouts, and he looked good. Again, that's sort of like when we say in minicamp, the players look good in shorts. I mean, it's a little bit different. Right. When the live, I don't want to say live bullets, but when the real action is happening. How much do you make of that, of what we've seen in video from him?
Well, the whole 28 seconds that we saw online gave you a decent glimpse into where he's at. He looked pretty good dropping back in the pocket. As Rex Ryan would say, I like his feet. He's got good feet. He can move laterally side to side. Didn't seem to really have any issues. The release looked good. The mechanics look good, which that's going to be a given with him. But like you said, he's working out against air. So the true test will be obviously in live action when a 300-pound defensive lineman falls on him. That'll be the test. But so far, so good. All indications are he's on or ahead of schedule. And I think if he's your guy, he was, before the injury, pretty much the consensus number 1 player in the draft. And then obviously Joe Burrow ascended given that absence of Tua and took over as being the quote-unquote top pick in the draft. So not to say it's a foregone conclusion, but I think all along that Miami had Tua at the top of their board as far as quarterback goes. And I would, definitely give up some assets to get him. You have to look at what the teams around you really need and what the market's going to be on draft day. It's very fluid.
All right, let's go to you, Jakari. The question I had asked David before you vanished for a bit was what can you make of a 36-second video that Tua's been put out? Like what? I mean, I don't know if you saw it, but what do you see? I mean, what does it tell you?
Tua looks relatively healthy, so we can't deny that he looks good spinning the football to me. At this point, it's Miami's choice because it's so much smoke screen going around. I'm hearing Burrow, we're hearing Hubert, we're hearing Tua, so we really don't know who Miami wants. But Tua looks relatively healthy. It looks like the rehab went well. I mean, we obviously, what David made a good point. We really won't know until he take that first hit. And who knows, if we draft him, it might not be into 2021 anyway. So I like that. I like that he has more time to get healthy. So I mean, if I'm the Dolphins, I take him because he's the best quarterback in the draft.
Well, that's what I was gonna ask you. All right, so all things equal, okay, and I know it's difficult to take the injuries out of the equation here, Jakari, but all things equal. I mean, we saw them play against each other. Tua wasn't even healthy coming into that game, and right. I mean, like all things equal, who's better? Like, I mean, isn't that really the question here? Like, if you believe that and the Dolphins, of course, and it wasn't them because it was Saban at the time, and it was the doctors that were there at the time, but Dolphins are a little scarred from this because they passed on a guy in Drew Brees, the second time at least. The first time they passed on him in the draft because they went for a nickel corner. But the second time they passed on him because of injuries when they were told there was a 75% chance he wasn't going to be himself again. Culpepper, there was only a 25% chance he wouldn't be himself again. And they made a mistake. That's a historic mistake, okay? All-time historic mistake. So they're scarred by it. So I'm just saying, let's take the injuries out of the equation. I know it's difficult. Who's the better player?
Tua. It's not even close. This is why I think Tua is better, because Alabama's scheme is not really a scheme. They just Tua, like, look at the difference between when Jalen Hurts was running the same offense with the same receivers. They wasn't scoring at that high of a clip. They were running the ball more. Tua comes in the national championship game. They come back the next season. They scoring 50 points. Nick Saban was coming off the gas pedal because they could have scored 100 points a game if they wanted. But I think Joe Burrow was more of a systematic quarterback. I think Joe Brady helped them out a lot. But if we just talking pure football, it's Tua. Tua is the better quarterback, pocket awareness, moves better in the pocket, can make more plays on the run, to me. But you can't go wrong with either one. But if I'm the GM, I'm taking Tua because of I just love Tua. So that's my opinion.
David?
I think you also have to look at the whole body of work. Joe Burrow had one good season. Tua gave you, over 2+ seasons of upper echelon football at the quarterback position in, like Joe Burrow, the toughest division in college football. So that being said, all things being equal, I do think Tua has the higher upside and is a better player. I like what Burrow did. He took advantage of the situation, and given the Tua injury, he jumped in the spotlight at the perfect time. All the stars aligned for Burrow. It was a dream season for him, and he's going to obviously capitalize on that and likely be the top pick of the draft. But you never know. Cincinnati might Cincinnati. You don't know what they're going to do up there.
Because I heard stories of them. Yeah, I heard stories of them liking Hubert over Burrow. So as a fan, I'm comfortable with either guy because I think Joe Burrow's going to have a good NFL career, but I think Tua's a Super Bowl winning quarterback. Like his ceiling for me. So that's why
like a Russell Wilson, essentially.
Yes. Russell Wilson, Drew Brees.
Closest comp. Final thing for you guys, 30 seconds or less. Would you make a play for Cam Newton if you're the Dolphins? David, first. David first.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No.
I just think at this point, you're going to reset the quarterback position through the draft. You've got Ryan Fitzpatrick in there. You don't need all the noise off the field and everything else. He's battled a lot of injuries recently. I think he's 30, 31 years old now. I don't know how much he's going to have left, and he's going to ask for a lot of money probably. So I don't think it's worth rolling the dice with Cam Newton. I think he'd be a short-term stopgap anyway. He's not your quarterback of the future. Why would you go off script? You reset the whole franchise of the 2019 season. You've got Fitzpatrick in there. And I think you just roll the dice in 2020 with your young quarterback. It's sort of a redshirt year, whether it's Tua or whoever. They're probably going to redshirt regardless. You roll the dice with Fitzpatrick, who in the second half of the season really played well and got the team to 5 wins. He's got a whole other offseason in the offense. I think you just stand pat. You don't need to commit that much capital to a position that you're going to replenish to the draft anyway.
Jakari?
Well, as a Dolphin fan, and as a reporter, would I take Cam Newton? Yes, but no for the Dolphins. But I will say this. I do not like this whole narrative that's being created about Cam Newton. He's never had no off-the-field troubles. He's just a big personality at quarterback. Him and Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers all have the same personality. They want control of what of the team. Another thing, a team should take a chance on Cam Newton because, one, he's never been protected in Carolina. So that's where all the injuries come from. He's never been around a talented offensive line. So a team should take a chance on him. I just don't like the narrative being created that he's a problem and this and that. No, teams don't want to trade for him because they don't want him because this draft is pretty good with the quarterbacks. That's it.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, and I are on the same page on the narrative with him. I don't like the narrative on him. I think that it has sort of gotten out of control, and like I said, I think that other quarterbacks with strong personalities don't get the same criticism that he does. At the same time, the one thing I do agree with David on, he didn't look like Now, whether or not he gets a better offensive line now, but it's taken his toll on him because when I watched him play last year, he can't move. Like he used to be able to move, and he can't move the way. And so now he is more reliant on some of the things, and some of the things he does well, and some of the things he doesn't do as well. And so that's why, to me, that and the idea that I agree that it's kind of the message you're sending is difficult. Like, what if Cam comes out? People were worried about this with Rosen, but I mean, Cam's actually proven something in the NFL. I mean, like, what if Cam comes in and has a pretty decent year, and then you don't want to turn it over to the young quarterback? For me, it's time. Like, Fitzpatrick is perfect for this. He knows his role. He's going to give you pretty good play, and he's going to lead a leader, and he's going to get out of the way when you need him to get out of the way, and he's going to mentor the other guy. Like, to me, he's exactly what you want in that role. The Dolphins are not in a position where they're a Cam Newton away from the playoffs. To me, I don't do it.
I agree with that. Like, that's the whole thing. Like, Fitzpatrick, the Dolphins are going to be still picking in the top 10 again next year. It's not like the additions they made. They'll probably win 6 games or something like that, but they'll still be picking in the top 10. So, yes, that's why I wouldn't take a chance on Cam Newton, because Cam may come in there with something to prove, and the Dolphins end up making the playoffs. And then you're in a position like, well, he had a pretty good season.
Right.
We do have this young quarterback. Why would we give that up? Because we can add this in the free agency and maybe we make a run to the Super Bowl.
Right.
So yeah, I agree with that. But he does deserve a chance as a starting quarterback.
And I think he'll get one, and I don't know he'll be the starter right away, but I think he could go into camp and beat somebody out. Absolutely. Yes. I just don't think it's here. All right, David Eversole, Jakari Givens. You can follow David over at Sports Wave Dave we're going with, and then at King Jock 24.
Yes,
I'm everywhere. 5 Reasons. Go to our website. We are selling shirts. I don't know if this one's on there, but we're selling shirts. We've got like 15 shirts. Heat, Dolphins, 5 Reasons stuff. Some Panthers stuff as well. If you forgot about them. The other Panthers, the Florida Panthers. We're using a code this week, Miss Sports. So if you miss Sports, 3 S's in the middle, 5. Miss Sports 5, you get 15% off. Thanks, guys.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.